You know the mainstream week 4 waiver wire targets, but what about those look ahead values for your deep leagues? We got you covered with tonight's In the Scope candidates on the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast.
Cause I've been in tune, out of touch, coming off the bench, trying to shake the funk, check your stat line, see who's up, that over under hit too clutch.
And I'm trying to avoid getting carried away with the jet sweep, sleeping on a trick play, predicting all of my moves like they seen every play. So I'm running it back, head down, get out of my way, and it's for the law with only one thing to do. I guess I'll say a prayer and put it all on the line for you, what they don't know, something they haven't seen. I find a gap off the screen and hit them right in between. Yeah, I got it, and I got it.
Just one thing to say, yeah, what they don't know, something they haven't seen. I'm off that mean Joe Green, it got me fading between. Yeah, I got it, and I got it. The In Between Fantasy Football Podcast.
All right. It is Tuesday, September 26, 2023. And yes, we are nearly a month into this shit show that is the NFL season. The In Between Fantasy Football Podcast is back with you to make the most of it. Tonight, we are going deep. And not as deep as a submarine goes to see the Titanic, folks, but we are going plenty deep. I am the captain of this ship tonight, Seth Woolcock, locked and loaded, and we are joined by my co-host, who is an award-nominated writer in this industry, a fan of old school rap and new school running backs, Scott Rainier. What's up, Scotty?
How's it going? Go Mariners.
Let's go, baby. Also joining us tonight is a great friend of the program, the founder of Familia FFB. He's a writer at Yahoo Fantasy, at RotoWire, at Fantasy Pros, at Fantasy Points. The dude is a weapon in these streets. He's everywhere. He's mi amigo. He's Jorge Martin. What's up, Jorge?
Salud, mi amigos. Thank you for having me. Oh my goodness, I love hanging out with you guys. And Tootsie Pops is in the house.
Hell yes. Hell yes, you are absolutely right, Jorge. We have the chat loaded tonight. We got Eric in here already. What's up, Eric? On his night off. We appreciate you, man. We got Didi. Hello. Happy Tuesday. Thanks for making this part of your Tuesday, Didi. We appreciate you. We got Tyler in the chat coming in from live in Memphis. What's up, Tyler? And yes, we got Tootsie Pop, aka Rachel, in the chat. What's up, Rachel? Thanks for tuning in tonight. Guys, we are absolutely loaded tonight. We are stacked like a Pittsburgh sandwich. Quick question. Have either of you guys had a Pittsburgh sandwich or know what I'm talking about?
I've heard of it. I want to try it. I
feel like we talked about it on a pod, but I don't remember what it's
that was a Pittsburgh style steak salad, Scott. I think a little bit different. Pittsburgh style sandwich. You're looking at the fries, you're looking at the slaw right on the sandwich. Best served at Permane Brothers. And someone who knows a little bit about the Pittsburgh steak sandwich, the Pittsburgh steak salad. That's our guy Kyle Scott, audio producer. Kyle, what's up tonight, man? Have you tried the Pittsburgh sandwich?
What's good, everybody? How's it going, Seth? You know I've had a Permane Brothers Pittsburgh style sandwich. I've had several variations, and I am on record. I do not like them. They're bad. The fries are disgusting. They're not crispy at all. They're the densest, wettest.
They're great.
Brick, and it just does not complement the sandwich well at all. It's a third piece of bread. It's awful.
All right. Well, Kyle did not sell it very well, but we will sell this show to you tonight. We have headline hijinks, a little fill in the blank. That's going to be a blast. We're also going to take some questions for you. I see we have some coming in the chat already. Save those for about the next 20-25 minutes, and we'll get to those in From the Forum, presented by our friends over at the Fantasy Football Advice Network, baby. And then we also have some in the scope, some deep waiver wires to talk about because, man, I don't have the FAAB for Devon, a chain, however you want to pronounce his name. Now, I don't have the FAAB for him, so we're going to save you guys a little bit of FAAB. Thank you to the IBT family so much for tuning in tonight. It's your guys' help, the thumbs up, the subscriptions to the channel that really help us get more out to the masses. So thank you guys. We appreciate it. And let's kick things off here with a little game of Headline Hijinx. All right, so we're going to be playing Headline Hijinx a little bit differently than we usually do. Usually we come up with some wacky, fun headlines, but tonight we're doing fill in the blank with some song lyrics. And we're going to start out with the woman of the hour here, Jorge. Your thoughts on Taylor Swift and her appearance here in Arrowhead in Kansas City?
Well, I saw one of her most recent appearances on the public appearances in the Northern Hemisphere at SoFi Stadium closing night. I got to see her, and she was just as electric just by sitting in the stand, next to Mama Kelsey and yelling "Let's effing go!" After he scores a touchdown. I don't know what's cooler, if that's cooler than the fact that after the game, she and he cleared out, kind of picked up everybody's tab at a restaurant just so that they could have dinner, just the two of them. How cool is that?
Wow. Okay. I didn't know that. Put it on the ticker there, Kyle. That's some breaking news from Jorge, some Big J journalism. We appreciate that scoop there. All right. So we're going to feature one of Taylor's songs here. Me and Blank are never, ever, ever getting back together. This is the player you are no longer starting, whether they're waiver fodder, trade bait, or just benched. You're never getting back together with them. Scotty, where are we going with this, my friend?
Well, if I were giving like a short term, he screwed me this week, it would be Josh Reynolds. But my kind of just ongoing player that I've been in a relationship with for a few years now is Antonio Gibson. I'm done. I have a 10-team home league where I just, he was just going to be a roster clogger. So, I mean, maybe it was a little hasty, but I just dropped him. Fumbled again this week. So, I mean, he's just one of those that, there's a handful of players in the NFL where it's Lucy's got the football, Charlie Brown's going to go kick it, and the last second pulls it out, and he, defies gravity and flies upward somehow. Antonio Gibson is one of those players at this point for me. So.
It's fair, man. It's fair. We've been waiting for the other shoe to drop, and I feel like now it might have finally dropped. Jorge, who is your player that you are never, ever, ever getting back together with?
Oh my goodness, I've got bad blood with Rashad Penny. It's before the season, I thought his ADP was gorgeous. Please, I hope everybody's getting the Taylor Swift references on this one. But yeah, I found out all too well, very, very quickly that this is not going to be the season for him. He's just, it's been, I have him so many places. I drafted him on so many best ball teams. I drafted him on a lot of teams as like my RB3. Some even he became my RB2 because I had like J.K. Dobbins, on some teams, and it's just not there. It's I mean, he's RB3, maybe even RB4, and I mean that's a big hill to climb. The way DeAndre Swift is looking right now, I don't think he's giving up the full-time role anytime soon. We've had so many injuries. I'm not going to wish. I never wish for injuries, but I'm never going to plan on or expect any kind of injuries. I just hope everybody stays healthy, and I'm just going to look elsewhere than Penny.
Yeah, and even the Gainwell managers, man, I have a lot of Gainwell, and I kind of have my head between my legs on that one too, because he got a lot of volume here late in the game, but it was not great. Great references there, Jorge, as well. I caught the all too well for sure. DD's picking up in the chat. Guys, keep the questions coming. We're going to get to those in our next segment from the forum, so stay with us on that. For the player I am no longer together with, and I'm cutting bait, it's Dak Prescott for me. QB 19 on the season. he was actually in a negative game script against the Arizona Cardinals. Not only did they cost me a couple survivor polls with that performance, but Dak just can't get over the hump right now. He can't get over 260 yards, can't get that second TD more times than not. And like Mike McCarthy kind of told us what he wanted to do this season. He wanted to run the ball. And when they get in the red zone, they're just not efficient. And it's the schedule here for me. We have New England, San Francisco. You're not starting him in either of those weeks. And then the Chargers and a bye. So I'm cool with dropping Dak Prescott in one quarterback leagues. Are you guys joining me there?
I could see it. I could see it.
In one QB, he's right in that range of like a really good, a decent streamer option, but I'm probably not. It's not just a set it and forget it with him. I mean, the Chargers game is appealing, but the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I can't roster him.
But you know what? The way the season's going, I mean, Arizona just beat Dallas. What's going on?
Yeah.
He could have 400 yards on the Patriots, and it wouldn't surprise me. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, in general, in one QB leagues, I'm not super committed to him right now.
Yeah, Dak Prescott's a reason why I tried to go elite QB as much as I could, kind of topping out at Trevor Lawrence. You know, he's one of those quarterbacks. He's kind of like Kirk Cousins and Jared Goff, good at home, but you kind of can't trust. And I at best I want to platoon him, and I am platooning him on a Pros with Joe's team with of all people Kirk Cousins.
I have him in a couple of leagues as my second quarterback behind Anthony Richardson, and I've kind of liked the stash there because if Richardson got hurt like he did earlier in the season, I could get throw Dak in there. Just has not worked out. I'd rather just cut bait and pick up a streamer those weeks that I need one. So let's go to the next song here. We're gonna fill in the blank. He poured this wisdom out. Said, "If you want my 2 cents, I'm making a dollar count." Buy. This is usually the lyric on this is usually buy dirt. Yeah. Anyone know that one? Jordan Davis, Luke Bryan. That's a country song. I don't know how many country fans we got in here. But instead of buying dirt, who is a player we are buying, Jorge?
Quentin Johnston. With Mike Williams down, the smart money right now is on Josh Palmer. You get Josh Palmer, and he'll help you right now. I think Quentin Johnston is a guy. They've got the week 5 bye. I think somewhere after the bye, it could be week 6, 7, 8. At some point, I feel like the light's going to turn on, and the opportunity is just going to be there for him. I mean, he's so ultra talented. I keep going back to, before the season, I talked to Fernando Ramirez, who's a beat writer covering the Chargers, and he told me that Derwin James himself said that Quentin Johnston is him. That he is that talented, that he's going to be a great one. So I trust Derwin James. I don't think I think he knows receivers better than anybody else because, he's got to cover them.
All right. Scott, who are you buying right now? Jorge, he's in the market for a little rookie wide receiver action. Where are you going with yours?
So mine's not necessarily like a traditional buy low. It's a pretty prominent player, and it's one of my all-ins, and I won't shut up about him. But it's Chris Olave with the Saints. And there's a reason for it. I mean, yeah, it's not like he's sitting there on waivers or anything like that. But, he hasn't scored yet. We've had all these fireworks from different players, including receivers, that I think can distract people from people like Olave. I mean, at the end of the day, it's fantasy points that we need. So, yeah, yep. I mean, if he doesn't score a touchdown all year and does a Deontay Johnson, then this will look bad. But he's averaged almost 11 targets a game, almost 8 catches a game, 100 yards receiving per game. That's with Derek Carr, Jameis Winston, doesn't matter. To me, he's matchup proof, QB proof, and the touchdowns will come. So if you can get a little bit of a discount just because he hasn't scored yet, he's not really high up there in the PPR ranks with some of these other guys yet. But I mean, with as much as I pour into this now, like his stat sheet, I just ignore the touchdowns. Everything else about it is just so tantalizing as one of just the premier stud receivers in the league. So if, it's early season, I'm not necessarily thinking people are panicking on Olave, but you could find it. I think you could find a pretty good deal with somebody who has, splashed a little bit more, who season long, I think would be less valuable than Olave.
especially with now Jameis Winston taking over as quarterback there until Derek Carr is back with that AC sprain. I think there can be some people panicked. I don't think that's a huge downgrade to Jameis personally. I know he didn't play great in a lot of that game, but he ultimately got them in field goal position to win it. So I don't think Jameis Winston is that big of a downgrade. So I'm with you there. I haven't been on the Olave hype as much this season, Scott, but now is a chance that if I can get a piece of him, I would like that piece. Another wide receiver I also want a piece of here is T. Higgins. Talk about a guy who had a bad game in prime time. People are soured on him right now. I think they come out week 1. He has a donut and then comes back here last night. Doesn't have a donut, but pretty damn close to it. But this is someone I think we still need to be investing in, someone we still need to be buying, averaging 10 targets per game. Burrow looked decent in this new quick passing offense for the Bengals. I kind of liked what they were doing, getting their playmakers involved, not just downfield, but in the intermediate and shorter routes, which was cool. And we got Tennessee in week 4, boys, for the Bengals. This could be a huge game. This is a team that their secondary has not been good for years now. So I'm looking to exploit that and get some T. Higgins on my roster now when I can.
Love that call. Love that call. I think
he's a good one. He's
especially this week.
mean, yeah, and if you could have, bought low after week 1, because I mean, it was so funny because I was looking at all the target shares after week 1, and he was like top 15.
Yeah.
He had 0 catches, so it was just like, okay. But I mean, I think Burrow's going to get healthier, hopefully. And I agree. I mean, you saw it with Jamar Chase too. Went from really quiet to exploding in that game, not with touchdowns, but with catches and yak.
Yep. He will get his eventually. Just stay patient with it, guys. We got Gavin in the chat. What's up, Gavin? Appreciate you tuning in tonight, man. Looks like we got Toronto Dave in the chat. What's up,
Toronto Dave?
We appreciate you, brother. All right. Let's get to the next fill in the blank here. So we just keep on waiting. That's supposed to be John Mayer. I know I'm no John Mayer, but we got a little John Mayer here. Who was a player, Scott, that you are waiting on? You're still holding out hope for, and you're not trading them. You're not cutting bait quite yet, and you have some hope for the future.
Well, this isn't a player that's necessarily underperformed. This is a player that started off the season injured and is potentially coming back this week, and that's Christian Watson from the Packers. I mean, he's been a somewhat polarizing player, and, it was a small sample size in college and a relatively small sample size last year, with some big plays. But I keep hearing this like he could be a stud or he could be Chase Claypool. He is not Chase Claypool. I kind of get that comp, but I mean, if you've seen him play, I mean, yes, he relied on some big plays last year, but just go watch those big plays. Like, he's a man amongst boys when he gets that ball in his hand. So he's coming, he's been injured, so he's just under the radar at this point. And I don't think people are necessarily cutting bait yet. They're probably holding out hope, but I'm holding out big hope. I drafted him on a bunch of teams. Jordan Love has looked competent. The Packers offense has looked competent, and it'll even be more so when Aaron Jones comes back. So yeah, I'm still very, very optimistic about Christian Watson this year.
When I think with the Packers too, they are an organization that rests their players and an organization that is very cautious with it as well. So when he comes back, he's going to be that guy. So I'm 100% with you there, Scott. Jorge, who is someone you are continuing to wait on?
Unfortunately, I love the Drake. So Drake London. It's tough to have watched him only get 14 targets in the first 3 games. But one of those games he had 1 target. That was the opener. And I think the Falcons are going to have to start throwing a little bit more. I mean, the last game, Desmond Ridder threw 38 times. So that was very much, I think that's very encouraging. I think he's got to be more involved. I mean, they can't just rely on Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. His involvement's coming down a little bit more, but really the thing is they're going to need. Drake London was so peppered with targets when Desmond Ridder was there, closed out the season in those last 4 games. He actually, if you had him during the playoff run, he actually helped you. And so I just think there's going to be a point where his usage is gonna kind of increase, and getting 6 to 8 targets, the occasional 10 double-digit games, but for the most part, I think really his usage is going to mirror. I hate to say it, but it's going to mirror like AJ Brown did, in the Arthur Smith years. I feel like Drake London is his AJ Brown on this team.
I've never thought about it like that. That's a really good comp there, Jorge. I've never thought about that. I have thought about trying to buy low on Drake London in a couple of leagues where I am wide receiver needy, though. So I do love that call here. Someone that I am waiting on, and I'm waiting. I am a little nervous, but I think it is okay for Derrick Henry managers right now, folks. I know if you drafted Henry in the second, maybe back half the first round, you could be a little worried. But let's go back to last year. He scored 2 games, the first 2 games, less than 9 PPR points in both of those. And then what did he do? He reeled off 5 of 6 straight games as an RB8 or better. He was fantastic down the stretch last season. They're getting Peter Skoronski back in this Tennessee Titans offensive line. He's been dealing with some health issues, but he should be back. That will make that line a little bit better. I believe he is their best offensive lineman at this point. And the Titans boys, they have to win with Derrick Henry. They have no other chance. And I think it starts here. They're going home. Cincinnati comes on a short week. That's a physical team that they're going to play on a short week. So I think it bodes well for Derrick Henry. So I'm going to continue to wait on Big Henry. You can't sell now. You can't. I've seen people trying to sell him, and this is as low as the value is going to get. You can't do it.
No, you can't sell low. I mean, especially when you've got those Houston games in weeks 15 and 17. If you have any hope of being in the playoffs, you want Derrick Henry in your lineup at that point. They're still giving up some rushing yards.
Yeah, if anything, maybe look to buy low in a couple of weeks, because they've got Cincinnati, not a very good matchup. Then they've got they've also got Baltimore before their bye. So it might not be wonderful between now and the bye week. Then after the bye, they, according to my little calculated strength of schedule, colorful charts, Tampa Bay and maybe Miami, the only 2 kind of negative matchups the rest of the way. The 2 with Houston, Jacksonville, Indianapolis, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, a lot of teams that have been good matchups for running backs thus far. So. And who knows where the AFC South's going to be?
Yeah, like it's going to be a dogfight.
Both the AFC and NFC South. Same with Drake London. I mean, Atlanta is going to have to pass. They're going to have to pass more, because it doesn't matter if they win one, lose one, win one, lose one. They're going to be in the hunt for the division title. So I don't think Henry's going anywhere. I mean, he's dealing with a little bit of a toe injury right now. I don't know how serious it is, but
right.
So there's always that risk. But yeah, he's a guy. I mean, you're kind of chugging him out there for now. If you don't have him and he disappoints for the next few weeks, then you might be able to buy low for a good schedule.
Last one here, guys. Last fill in the blank for the night. It's something unpredictable, but in the end, it's right. I hope you had the time of your life with this, a player you are desperately trying to sell high right now. Jorge, who is it? Who are you trying to get out from under right now?
Oh, well, I don't know if I'm ready to get out from under him, but I want to get as much as I can for Devon Achane. So I love that it's the E is more than silent on that one. You know what? I mean, the guy had 1 rushing attempt and then pops for 233 yards. This is the epitome of sell high. He had 4. This game is reminding me so much of that Chase Claypool explosion game 3 years ago, where he had, out of nowhere, he had 4 touchdowns, and then he was pretty good the rest of the season. But he's still always going to be the, 3 years later, he hasn't come close to 4 touchdowns. Devon Achane is, I think he's incredibly talented. I think he's very fast, but I think right now in this running back market, being as as scarce as it is, if you have any kind of depth, you should be looking to trade him, because I think his value is never going to be higher than it is right now. It's caliente.
No, it's a smart. I mean, yeah, it's a player that is a rookie for one, so it's the shiny new object thing.
Yeah.
2, he had some hype. 3, he scored 50 points. So it's like, I mean, There is no direction to go. And he scored 50 plus fantasy points on a 41% snap share. Like everything about that game basically broke my brain when I was going over the stats for that game. Everything. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, because there's going to be people that will pay a hefty price chasing that.
I'm good. I'm good on it. I'm good. I totally agree with you, Jorge. If someone out there is willing to pay for Achane, go ahead and sell them off. Scott, who is your sell high here?
It's just I tweeted out anytime it happens. My sell high is Gabe Davis if you can, because he scored again. That's 2 weeks in a row he scored a touchdown. So I don't always do it, but I try anytime Gabe Davis scores a touchdown. I tweet out, hey, it's your weekly reminder to try and sell high on Gabe Davis because he scored a touchdown. So
one catch too, and it was a touchdown.
Well, and that's my point with him. You know, he has these touchdowns every now and then, but I've been looking at this metric. I've been like trying to come up with this new way to look at, you know, it involves snap share, routes run, and targets per route. It's combining that together because there's the receivers out there that are on the field for 80-90% of the snaps, running tons of routes and have a really, really low targets per route run. That's not good. That's not something that's probably going to change. Snap shares can, but if you're not earning targets, and Gabe Davis and the guy we were talking about pregame, Alec Pierce, they're both at the very bottom of that list. They play all game long. They run tons of routes. They just don't get targets.
Poor suckers.
If I can anytime, and I say this hypothetically because I don't have any Gabe Davis. But if I do, I'm trying to get something for that, for the touchdowns.
Okay. All right. And I'll round us out here with I'm selling high on George Kittle. This is just a target share thing, guys. Like 26.5% target share last week. Week 2, 12.5% target share. That's gross. Week 1, 21.4. And I think like that's pretty much where he lives when Brandon Ayuk is healthy. When you have Ayuk, Debo, and McCaffrey on the field, there's just not enough to go around. So I think you got to get out of George Kittle when you can. I saw a trade going down in my home league today, very competitive league. It was George Kittle for Jordan Addison. And I think that's a very solid trade. I would take Addison for Kittle in a minute. So well done. My brother actually made that trade. So shout out to my brother, Austin. I think Jorge sounds like you're in on selling Kittle as well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, he had a big game. Why? Because Brandon Ayuk was out. His biggest games are when either Brandon Ayuk or Debo Samuel are out. Yep. Ayuk is going to be coming back. It looks like he might be coming back this week. So that just puts him further down the pecking order on touches, where at the very least he's at best he's number 4.
And then after, I mean, they have a good matchup for tight ends against Arizona this week, but then their 3 after that are Minnesota. Hold on, I got it. Dallas, Cleveland, Minnesota. Dallas, Cleveland are top 10 against tight ends. Minnesota, God help you if you're trying to cover wide receivers, but they're top 15 against tight ends. At least they have been so far. So not good tight end matchups. Arizona and Minnesota are great wide receiver matchups. So I don't see. I mean, it's probably going to be similar to most Kittle years. You've got these spike games that happen, but there's a lot of disappointment.
Yeah, it's something I can't fuck with anymore, to be honest. I've done it before, and I've had enough of George Kittle there. So, guys, let's go ahead. Let's answer some questions for everyone here in our next segment from the forum.
If you're up, stuck, thinking about what to do, hear it in between. We got advice for you. Back and forth all day, trying to pick the play. Let's hear what them boys here had to say.
Presented by the Fantasy Football Advice Network.
All right, the Fantasy Football Advice Network. Thank you guys so much for powering this segment. And if you guys haven't checked it out, what are you waiting for? This is the platform that combines all these different apps that you've been using in the past: Facebook, Instagram, Patreon, Discord, and it brings it all together in one fancy sexy looking app, desktop program as well that you can get involved with. And it really is a great place where fantasy football analysts and fantasy football enthusiasts can support each other. And it's all right there. We don't get all the BS like we do on some of these other social platforms. So check them out. You can use our promo code IBT and you can get yourself 25% off your first month. It's about the price of a cup of coffee. So save yourself the calories. Get over there on Fantasy Football Advice Forum. And let's go ahead and get to some questions in the chat before we get to the ones from over there on the network. The first one here came from a little bit ago. Braves fan, Hunter Henry or Luke Musgrave this week? Jorge, Hunter Henry, a bit of a disappointment in week 3. All the hype was going towards him, and he let us down once again in New England Patriots fashion. So how do you feel about him this week? Luke Musgrave, though, has caught just a lot of hype this last couple of days. He's going to be heavily rostered here, I feel like, after week 4.
Well, if Christian Watson plays, I'm looking at Hunter Henry.
Okay.
And because I just think they're going to look to target Watson. Though I just wonder if he didn't play on Sunday, 3rd game in a row, why would they bring him back on a short week? Luke is looking good, but you know what? I also look at the fact that on the on Hunter Henry's side, Mac Jones looks for him, and this is a game where this is a home game, as we were talking about for Dak. So it looks like he's going to put up some points, and I think Mac Jones is going to have to throw to keep up with him. And with Trayvon Diggs out, that just I think that just further debilitates that secondary. I think I could see Hunter Henry popping a touchdown, getting that touchdown deodorant, as Scott Pianowski says so eloquently.
Yeah, I'm with you there, man. I think Hunter Henry is the safer play here. You're still looking for a touchdown pretty much, but Scott, you said in your article yesterday, a touchdown pretty much makes you a top 6 tight end on the week.
That's how it's been this year. It's like there just haven't been many games. There's been a couple. Waller had like 70 yards. I don't think Kittle scored. There's been a couple games where yardage and catches got tight ends up there. But for the most part, it's only if you score.
Don't forget, Kittle scored. I'm sorry, not Kittle. Kelsey scored.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir, for his lady.
I'm going contrarian here. I'm going with Musgrave, personally. The thing with Christian Watson, the reason I think he might play, I heard this on a pod, that is he was technically a game-time decision last week, so he was really close. So I think just him not playing last week was the play it safe, and I think he'll be ready to come back. So the reason these two are very close for me, and so really it comes down to matchup on this one for me. Hunter Henry is at Dallas, top 15 against tight ends, against tight ends so far, and Luke Musgrave gets a home game with the Lions, who've been the 3rd easiest tight end matchup this year. So, and I mean. Musgrave had a little bit of a under the radar, non-flashy coming out party this past week. I mean, I had it in front of me a second ago. He approached a 20% target share, and smooth transition, Scott. 6 catches, 8 targets, 49 yards, which, I mean, 6 catches, 49 yards in PPR tight end premium in this environment that we're in with tight ends. That's a solid day. So I would, if Christian Watson's back, I would be concerned a little bit. But I mean, Musgrave's snap share, all 3 of it, really more Laporta and Musgrave so far, their snap shares as far as for rookie tight ends have been ridiculous. They are the tight end ones. There is no question about it on both of their teams at all, which is just crazy. It's just usually not like that. So I'm going Musgrave here because I think he has a better chance to make you happy if he doesn't score.
Okay. Scott's shooting for the higher ceiling without the touchdown there. Here we got one from Fresh Prince CEH. Great name there. Just got offered Jamar Chase and Pacheco for Amon-Ra St. Brown and Raheem Mostert. PPR redraft league. Oh, man.
Look good on Monday Night Football.
He did, and he played that new role that I was kind of chatting about. They moved him all around the formation. We finally saw like a lower ADOT for Chase for once in his career as well, which was kind of nice, kind of cool to see them getting involved in different ways. But with that said, I don't know if I can move on. Like, I don't think the difference from St. Brown to Chase right now is that big that I can also downgrade from Mostert to Pacheco right now. Scott, how do you feel about this one?
This one's close for me. I actually lean that take the side of the best player, and that's Chase.
Yeah.
I think if picture this question, I mean, actually, just if like picture this question being asked a week ago, things would be totally different on both sides of it. Because Chase hadn't had a big game yet, and I mean, Mostert also scored 4 touchdowns and went completely bananas against the Broncos. So, but I'm trying to not let that cloud my judgment on a trade like this too much either. I think at the end of the day, there isn't really that big of a difference between Mostert and Pacheco, to be honest. With Achane now there, taking 40% of the snaps last week and probably more going forward. So it's hard though, man, because like part of the deal with Mostert and Achane is it's not just like, oh, it's like this system is built for both of them. Mike McDaniel's system it's a blueprint for success for both of those running backs. So it's really, really hard. I mean, Mostert, he has a reputation, he's had, a couple different seasons. He ran the fastest time of any run of the season at like 23 miles per hour, but he could never stay healthy. So he's got this kind of nagging, but I mean, I'll tell you right now, if you take out Aaron Jones, the number 1 and number 2 running backs in the league right now, fantasy points per game, are Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane. Number 1 and number 2.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So I'm sorry, I got off on a tangent there. I'm still probably going the Jamar Chase side just because to me, that's not a ridiculous amount to pay for what I consider the best player in the deal.
Jorge, you sound like you're with Scott on this one as well.
I'm always the one who's getting the best player in the deal. I think it's very close between Chase and St. Brown. Mm-hmm. But, Mostert has never finished the season healthy. And Pacheco, I was just looking at his numbers recently, just a little while ago, and he still ran the role. People talk about his not having a big role. He ran one more route than Jerick McKinnon, who's supposedly their pass game specialist. So he's got the involvement happening. So I kind of look at Chase and Pacheco to be kind of a little bit of a winner. Plus, you get 2 dynamic offenses that are just that are. I mean, actually, when you look at all four teams have really, really styling offenses. I just lean a little toward Chase and Pacheco on this one.
I do think though this is as trades are kind of supposed to be. I don't know the construction of either.
Yeah,
of these
this
teams.
is
But this is a good
fair
trade for both parties. Like you've got somebody selling high and you've got somebody buying high involving Mostert, and that's totally fine.
Yep. Great trade there. Great trade. Here we have Wizzy asking, who would you guys recommend buying at the price of Gabe Davis? So if I'm selling Gabe Davis, I'm looking to package him with something else and upgrade to a better wide receiver, maybe getting that wide receiver 2 range. If there's an Amari Cooper trade out there, a Christian Watson trade, I know he's kind of been talked about a little bit on tonight's show. But if you're looking for a 1-for-1 and you're trying to get to a different position here for Gabe Davis, I think you could easily get over to like a Rachaad White, a Javonte Williams, someone kind of in that range. I think is right where you're looking at here.
I'd trade Davis for Pacheco.
Yeah. I think
that's another one kind of in that range.
Yep. Yeah.
I would also target the Josh Allen fantasy man, the owner who has Josh Allen, because it's probably really that person probably did not have Stephon Diggs, and so you could kind of talk them into that stack and get like one of the running backs that you're talking about.
Got here one from Owen. I have Jacobs, Breece Hall, Justin Jefferson, Keenan Allen, Travis Kelce, Amari Cooper, Brandon Ayuk. Should I trade Amari for Alvin Kamara? Wow,
Jacobs, Breece.
This is an absolutely loaded squad, by the way, Owen. Holy cow! This is like a league. This is one of the best squads I've seen in a comment this year.
How did you decipher Justin Jefferson out of
Jettas? Jay Jettas? I don't know. That's kind of a slang name for him. So maybe that's not him. If that's not Justin Jefferson, let me know. And we'll certainly correct that. I don't think you need to trade Amari for Alvin Kamara right now. I mean, you certainly can if you want a better running back too than Breece Hall. Breece Hall has been shaky. Although I kind of like Breece to bounce back a little bit here on Sunday Night Football against the Chiefs here in Week 4. So I understand you making that move, but I just think Amari's been so good lately. I think you can get someone better. I think you can get someone better than Alvin Kamara and the unknown factor there, boys.
Yeah, I think I would agree. I would try to get more for Cooper, Amari
Get
Cooper.
like a James Cook, you know.
Well,
like,
I mean, especially since we really don't know what's going to happen with Kamara yet. Like, is he going to come back and be Kamara of old? I mean, the team desperately needs that. But yeah, that's a little too risky for Amari Cooper for me right now. I mean, you can't always just wait till you see it before you make a decision. But in this case, I would try and go for somebody a little bit better than Kamara. It is a stacked team, though, for sure.
Yeah, really stacked team. To think that Kamara could be your number 3 running back on this squad, and you've already got Jefferson, Keenan. I mean, what is this, an 8-team league? When I look at when I think about this trade, though, if because the running back market is so depressed right now because of injuries, I kind of look at it as the possibility that Kamara could be very valuable going forward. Kendre Miller, I think, had a lot of excitement around him, and that excitement ended up going to Miami with Devon Achane. So I wonder, with Jamal Williams going on IR, I wonder if Kamara might be coming into a pretty sizable role.
Would you trade him for Miles Sanders straight up? I don't think I'd hold on to Miles Sanders rather than Miles Sanders getting 4 or 5 receptions a game. I don't think I'm trading him for Kamara right now. He's kind of has a lockdown role in Carolina, even though it's not a great offense there. So I don't think I would do that either. Guys, we'll get to some of these other questions here as we talk waiver wires. I see one in there about CJ Stroud. Do we expect a Justin Fields bounce back? We'll get to those here. I do want to get to some questions over on the forum, though. Some really good ones tonight. And right away, we're getting put to the task with his first question. Devon Achane or Raheem Mostert rest a season. Wow, this one is really tough. It's from our guy Z-Bear over there on the Fantasy Football Advice Network. Scott, where do you lean here, man? Because you obviously said, like, you laid it out. It was a very outlier performance from Achane, but at the same time, Mostert, he's a 31-year-old running back who has a very, very long injury history.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't typically just solely rely on my gut, but my gut right now for this question is screaming Achane. And then just kind of the way I play is screaming Achane, for better or for worse. I just think he has more upside. I think he has a higher ceiling. It's hard to talk about injury because Achane didn't play till now because he was injured, but I'd be a lot more worried about Mostert just with his age and his history. And it's just kind of the appeal of the still unknown, because yes, he's not going to average 51.3 PPR fantasy points per game. But what is it going to be? You know what I mean? It could be a ham sandwich both ways. You could be like, okay, 41% snap share, 50 points. Obviously, that's not sustainable. But holy crap, what if he creeps up to 60% snap share? Yeah, not 50, but maybe 20 a game. So I'm suckered in by rookies more than I probably should be. But if I had to make this decision here, I just think I would have more fun and excitement within myself as a manager if it was Achane.
Yeah, his value to me feels like it can only go up from here, while Mostert feels like he can lose some touches here, might lose some touches when Jeff Wilson Jr. comes back as well. Jorge, yourself here, Achane or Raheem Mostert?
Almost always I go for the younger guy, and I at the running back position. I mean, this is a position where youth is served, and I just look at him as just he's so young, so dynamic, so fast. I mean, the speed translates that 4.32 speed in the 40-yard dash. Just, I mean, there was a run that got called back, which I thought was his most special run of the day, where you just saw the acceleration go from him. I think with him, and plus, like you laid it out, Raheem Mostert with that extensive injury history. If I'm talking rest of season, I'm putting my money on a Chan.
Okay. All right. Here's another one from the forum. Great question. How do you rank these wide receivers of rest of the season? Quentin Johnston, Joshua Palmer, 2 Los Angeles Chargers wide receivers, Jahan Dotson, fall from grace for our guy out of Penn State, and then Marvin Mims, explosive as hell, but no touches for our guy Mims here. Although he is getting more touches, but still not where we want to see him. Had a nice punt return for a touchdown as well here last week. Looking at this right away, I would probably go rest of the season. Now that Mike Williams is down to an ACL, Quentin Johnston, Josh Palmer, Dotson, Mims for me. I'd probably even go Jahan too. Johnston, Jahan, Palmer, Mims. Yourself, Scott?
Oh, I wanted you to ask Jorge first. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, again, this is kind of depends on how you look at it. Right away out of the gate, I would have Palmer. I think Palmer has the most short-term success of this group.
Agreed. Short-term, yes. Yeah.
But as far as upside and rest of season, especially with the track record of rookies gaining steam second half of the year, I probably would, just chasing the ceiling, go with Johnston. I honestly, it's close for me between Dotson and Mims at 2. The reason with Mims is because, yes, he has, his touchdown rate, it's ridiculous. The reason he's up the top of the fantasy leaderboards is because of touchdowns and just big plays. But if we're talking about rookies getting more involved, more snaps, running more routes in the second half of the season, then why wouldn't that also apply to Marvin Mims, who has already showed flashes in his limited work, whereas Quentin Johnston really hasn't. I love Mims. I've loved Mims all off season. I drafted in my home league and I got a lot, in the 12th or 13th round, and I got all this oh dude, what a reach. And I was like, just wait, man, just wait, not a reach. And I have Palmer last just because in this scenario with the situations, I mean, to me, I'm basing it more on talent than situation here. And I think Palmer's the least talented receiver of this group.
Jorge, where do you rank these guys?
I want to put Jahan Dotson first just because Sam Howell is standing back there and he's pitching the ball. I think he could have the most the most targets on a week-to-week basis between now and the end of the season. Could Johnston and Mims catch up to him on the back half of the season? I think it's very possible. So I think I put Dotson 1, and gosh, I'm going to put Palmer 4th because I think by the back half of the season, I think he's going to be even in that high-powered offense. I think he's going to be kind of tamped down. And I probably go QJ, Mims, and then Palmer.
Okay. All right. I like that.
Speaking of the Chargers, I did see an interesting point by our friend Jeff Bell today on Twitter /X. What if the Chargers run more 2 tight end sets and this injury ends up being big for Gerald Everett?
Yeah.
I think Everett could be a playmaker down the stretch, but I mean, right now, man, we got Donald Parham like ripping in.
Yeah, the tight end touchdown vulture, Donald Parham.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good on that. But I love this question, and man, I hope we see some more Marvin Mims because he has been exciting to see.
He's fun.
Also, we do have the Shitter Bowl this weekend as well, boys. We have Chicago and Denver. One of these teams will not be winless after this week. So Marvin Mims, his projections very low on.
What if they tie? What if they tie at 0?
Yeah.
Okay,
0-0
maybe
tie.
Not. Yeah, I guess that was a false statement there.
Oh my god, that'd be funny.
But the point being, Marvin Mims might be a sneaky play this week. I know his projection's not going to be high on a lot of platforms because he doesn't get the touches, but against the Bears, man, I'm willing to roll out Scott's grandma against the Bears right now. So
I mean, it's a shitter bowl that could have, even though both teams are terrible, it could have a lot of fantasy points scored.
I know. Yes. Yeah, I mean, we just saw what Denver did, so I think Chicago is going to have some success. And I mean, not 70 points worth, but I think Chicago could be in this one. And
who do you think wins?
I think Chicago.
I think Denver.
They're
wins.
home.
I just I don't know, man. I think it's a sinking ship with the Broncos once again. Good. I'm happy about it too. I hate to say it, but Russell Wilson fucked me and you over, fucked this whole program over last year. So I was glad to be on the
rooting
right
for
side.
Mims, and I'm still rooting for Javonte.
Yes, I'm with you there. Let's go ahead and round out the show. And guys, thanks again for the Fantasy Football Advice Network for powering that segment. If you guys want to ask us more questions on the regular, get over there, put them in the chat over there on the network, and we'll get to those. And let's go ahead. Let's round it out here. Some in the scope.
Requesting permission to engage.
In the scope. In the scope, this is our waivers a week early segment. We're going to first run through some of these mainstream targets. We've been talking about Jordan Love for a month. He was one of my favorite sleepers coming in the year. He's still under 50% rostered. That's going to change after tonight, after the waivers run. But if he's out there, grab Jordan Love. And then we had a comment here in the chat about CJ Stroud. And would you be dropping, I believe it was Geno Smith for CJ Stroud or Justin Fields? I don't think I would quite go that far, but like CJ Stroud, what he's doing, boys, we can't look past it. I mean, there's not a lot of rookies in their first 3 games that throw for over 800 yards, zero interceptions. This is like getting close to the level of like maybe what Justin Herbert did as a rookie. And Stroud's firing on all cylinders, boys. So something to keep in mind there, I think.
That's a close one for me. Like, I'm not ready to completely just like bail on Justin Fields quite yet.
Trade Justin Fields. I would say hold Justin. If you can roster all 3 of them for 1 week, if you can stomach it, and then trade Justin Fields after he plays the Denver Broncos, like that's maybe what I would do, and then roll with a Geno Stroud stack.
I'm keeping an eye. Like if I'm choosing between Geno and CJ Stroud, I don't think it's that. I think it's pretty close right now.
Yeah.
I mean, Stroud's throwing it 50 times a game almost. Like,
yes.
You love to see it.
He does. He is looking so good.
He looks really good.
Yeah, he looks like he's been back there a long time. I mean, Seth, you talked about the Justin Herbert. I mean, I watched very closely that rookie year, and you know, Stroud. If he gets a few more games, then I'll start to think about it. Plus, the big part about it is it's. I mean, they've got some beatable defenses.
Yes, they do.
That are coming up.
Great schedule. Okay, let's talk some running backs here in the mainstream. Roschon Johnson, we've been screaming his name for months. Pick him up. He looks like the RB1 eventually for the Bears. Tyjae Spears, outsnapped Derrick Henry again. Not really getting the touches we want, but seeing the field a lot and is a valuable handcuff. Zeke Elliott back under rostered 50%. He had a great game on the ground. So definitely look at Zeke Elliott. I think if you need – we're not excited about him, but if you need someone just for an end-of-bench stash, if you have Ramondre, look at him. And then Matt Breida, 26.2% rostered. If no Saquon this week, Breida will go again. He could fall in the end zone once again. But quickly, just running through these names of wide receivers again. Tank Dell. We've been screaming his name for weeks now.
How is he only 23% anyway?
Yeah, it's going to be like 70 or 80 after this week. He had a great week 3. I would love to have I actually have in one of my dynasty leagues, I have a Stroud Tank Dell combo. So I'm very excited about that stack. Romeo Doubs, after a down week 2, he saw double-digit targets in week number 3. So keep Doubs on your radar. Someone to potentially stack with Jordan Love. We talked about Quentin Johnston. He has some long-term value here. Josh Palmer, if you need a 1-week fix it, like it's a 1-week fix it. They have a bye in week 5, I believe. So you're pretty much running him for 1 week here. We'll see what happens after the bye, but decent matchup this week. Rashid Shaheed had some big plays once again here. We know how Jameis likes to sling it deep. Look at him, 27.9% roster. DJ Chark, 43.2% roster. I'm not excited about Chark, but if it's Andy Dalton again under center, he's going to have some value. How about Andy Dalton, boys? The Red Rifle slinging it in Seattle.
Dude,
Good for him.
start your receivers against the Seahawks. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Don't start the Seahawks defense. I tried to do it this last week. It did not. I don't know. They play the Giants this week, so it's a mixed bag. Very mixed bag. But
Big game for Wan'Dale Robinson coming. Bank it.
Oh,
like
yes. What is up with their secondary? Was supposed to be their strength.
Still young.
Reek
Just
Woolen
still-
was out as
but-
well. Reek
yeah.
Woolen was out.
Yeah.
How about that
They-
name change? How about that name change? Dropping a syllable there for Reek. You don't seem impressed, Scott. You don't seem happy about it.
I'm fine with it. Let the young man do what he wants.
And then the tight end position, Jake Ferguson still only 12% rostered. He needs to be rostered pretty much everywhere as well. He's getting some volume for tight ends. Let's get to the in the scope, the deep candidates here this weekend, boys. And Scott, I'll fire you up first, man. Who is someone you are looking at for deeper leagues and who could be a potential waiver wire ad next week that you can get for free right now?
Somebody I already added in deeper leagues, and that's Calvin. Is it the third? Calvin Austin, wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers, second-year guy who missed his rookie year. He was a guy I liked coming out of college his rookie year, and then injuries put a stop to that. So, he was kind of just one of those guys going under the radar. Rookie gets hurt coming into their second year. You've spent all year frothing at the mouth for other rookies that played. You kind of forget about him. So he's a guy I like, and obviously his playing time has increased with the Deontay Johnson injury, but he's been about roughly a 75% snap share the last 2 games. 2 of the 3 games this year, he's had 6 targets, including over a 22.2% target share in week 3. He's involved, and he scored a touchdown and he returned a punt for a touchdown. So I mean, he's a playmaker, and he's free right now. What was his percentage? You have it up there, 1.6. Yeah, I mean, he's free right now. I don't think anybody. I mean, maybe because he scored the touchdown. I mean, the problem is he's been getting targets, but the catch percentage is way down, and I'm not necessarily going to blame that on Calvin. It's probably more of a Pickett thing, but it's just promising. I mean, we only have so much to go on in 3 weeks when we're talking about deep league stashes. So what I'm looking for, especially with wide receivers this early, is snap share, targets. Not necessarily fantasy points yet, but just who are some guys that are trending towards, at least having the opportunity to score more points later in the season.
Yeah, we'll see a little bit. We'll see a little bit with how much he's going to get these next few weeks with Deontay out.
And it was interesting because even in week 1 with Deontay there
for 6 targets.
Yeah, for part of that game, he looked good as well. So yeah, I am interested here. It looks like he is going to be probably the number 2 receiving option in this offense as long as Deontay is out. Looks like Allen Robinson will not take that role. I know some people were kind of investing in him a couple weeks ago as well. So yeah, I like Calvin Austin, man. He's fast, and listen, man, if you can catch the ball in Pittsburgh and be a reliable target, like that's what they want. He's going to get more usage after that deep shot there from Kenny at the beginning of that Raiders game as well. So, Jorge, I'm going to send it over to you for your inaugural in the scope candidate here at the In Between Fantasy Football podcast.
Well, we talked about him a little bit earlier, Marvin Mims. I think his role is only going to grow. I mean, he's been so successful. I mean, the last 2, he had 113 yards and a touchdown 2 weeks, in week 2. Last week, he had another long run. I mean, his ADOT right now is 23.6, which is ridiculous. His yards per route run is 7.2.
Yeah, it's over 7.
Yeah, I mean, Tyreek Hill was incredible, was like beyond hyper elite last year, and he was at 3. And the great receivers are at like 2.5. And so that's got to be, I mean, it's going to come down, but hopefully that's coming down because his usage is going way up.
I love what Marvin Mims has been putting out there this year, guys, and it's exciting, man. And he's someone that if you want to throw him out there in a league, like you kind of have to have some big nuts right now. But I'm totally down behind him. I'm totally getting with it right now.
If I would have played him over Josh Reynolds, I would have won my SFB matchup.
Oh, say it ain't so.
I have him on a couple of deep rosters. I haven't had the guts to start him.
So I will round us out here, boys, and appreciate all the questions in the chat. We'll try to hit a couple more here if we have a minute here, round it out. But I want to talk about a guy who's been catching my eye, who I really liked a lot this offseason too, and it's Rashee Rice for the Kansas City Chiefs. And we are very lucky this man did not get in the end zone here once again in week 3. He went down at about like the 1-inch line. They initially called it a touchdown. They brought it back. But Rice is continuing to get involved here. Snap percentage going up each and every single week. And I think really like we're seeing Kadarius Toney phased out of this offense. I know it was a blowout, but 3% snap share for Kadarius Toney here in week number 3. Rice, meanwhile, it just continues to get better. He's up over 50% snap share. And right now, he's number 1 in the Chiefs' targets for wide receivers, 15 of them, and second in the red zone targets as well among the receivers. So, like, it's him and Sky Moore. I don't think you should be bailing on Sky Moore. And if Sky Moore's out there too, like, I'd also be considering Sky Moore a little bit. But I think Rice, the Chiefs offense together, they're kind of finding what their groove a little bit. Taylor Swift, of course, being in the house will get that going. But guys, I think Rashee Rice here, like, I'm going to throw out probably $1 or $2 FAAB in some leagues to just make sure I get him. But I think after waivers, he'll still be there in a lot of leagues.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the same trend too. I mean, and with Rice, he wasn't necessarily as good of a prospect as some of these other guys, but his situation was such that there was, it was anybody's job for the taking in Kansas City as far as who would be. I mean, they probably won't ever have just a dominant stud alpha wide receiver one, but as who is going to take over that majority. I don't think it's Kadarius Toney either. And Rashee Rice has been going up. I mean, to already be at 50% snap share and he had 7 targets, 5 catches, 59 yards in this past game, to already be there by week 3. That's promising for him with Patrick Mahomes throwing him the ball.
I like him this week a little bit too. I know they're playing the Jets, but the Jets can't move the ball right now. So I think Kansas City is going to have a lot of time possession here. They could get up by multiple scores again and just see what they have in Rice, even if it's not Patrick Mahomes back there. Let's go ahead, though. We'll round out the show. Just a couple questions here. Thank you all, everyone, for the questions. Hope you guys are subscribing to the channel, hanging out with us again. Pick up Jaylen Warren or Jakobi Meyers. Jakobi Meyers has to be rostered, man. Scott, I don't know if you have his target percentage number on you, but it is high and is loud and proud right there, man. He's, I think, wide receiver 20 on the year, something like that, with missing a game still, not even going points per game.
Yeah, I mean, in week 3, because he missed the game, but in week 3, he was up 27.3% target share. And that, it's with Adams. So I mean, like, Adams is always going to be the alpha and the point scorer. But Myers is just for the most part, ever since he went undrafted, he's been solid. I saw somebody mention this a few weeks ago, just like the trials and tribulations of the Patriots and their scouting and reviewing of wide receivers just continues to baffle that they basically opted for Juju over Jakobi Meyers. So I'm taking Jakobi Meyers here, although I like having Jaylen Warren at this point. I think Warren, especially in PPR leagues. I mean, Najee's picked up the pace just a bit, so it's never going to be a scenario where Jaylen Warren is the lead back, but it's kind of not too unlike Achane and Raheem Mostert. Like, they're both going to play. To have a valuable running back in today's NFL is not about somebody that gets 20 carries and 80-90% of the running back rushes. If a guy can get 9 carries and 4 targets, and they have the explosivity of Jaylen Warren.
Welcome my roster. Welcome my roster. I say welcome my roster if they're getting that.
That's the thing.
Exactly. So I mean, he's not getting that. He's not getting that yet. But I mean, I just think it's more valuable than people give it credit for.
No, I actually take Warren in this one just because of the fact that I think the running back position is so depleted right now. And I was just looking up some numbers for an article that's actually going to come out in Yahoo tomorrow. My weekly running back, my weekly running back article, and he's getting very close into that 10 to 12 range of weekly touches, with a lot of those touches being valuable. He is way outdistancing Najee Harris when it comes to routes run and targets.
Insane.
So, and those are such valuable touches. So that's why I'm looking at Warren being someone. I mean, right now you want value at running back, and I think he's become a very valuable running back. And I say that as someone who made Najee Harris one of my guys before the season. So it was painful.
It's been a tough watch, man. It's been a tough watch, especially, Najee's rookie season, man. He had so many receptions and targets. So just to see the downfall has been sad. We got our guy Ozzy in the chat saying, I screwed up and drafted Chig, DeAndre Hopkins, and Treylon Burks. Thoughts on that situation? Should I hit the waiver wire? I'll say this, Ozzy. I have Derrick Henry and Hopkins in a league, and I am terrified by it, and I am trying to move off one of them. Here you have 3 pass catchers of Ryan Tannehill. I think it gets better this week in Cincinnati. Still, though, yeah, you try to do what you can and move off some of these guys once they have a big week.
I'd be moving off Okonkwo. He'd be going to the waivers, and I'd be streaming the position. That was my concern with him from coming in from last year. He had really good peripherals with targets per out run, yards per out run, just not a lot of routes, not a lot of opportunity. It's been even less this year. So I mean, I don't think Okonkwo was startable at this point. So
yeah, and I have him on so many teams, so I'm with you.
It's been tough. I just moved him in a dynasty league last week and didn't feel bad about it. Looks like we have Marcos here in the chat on Facebook. What's up, Marcos? He's saying, would you pick up a Chaney and drop one of these players? Jahmyr Gibbs, Tony Pollard, Miles Sanders, Jerome Ford. Also, he has Raheem Mostert. I'm adding.
I can't drop any of those guys.
I can't drop any of those guys for a Chaney other than Mostert. I think would be the one, just because as we talked long term, I think.
I'd rather have a Chon than Jerome Ford. Personally.
Really?
Oh yeah,
I agree.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I'm really without hesitation.
Okay. All right. So you got.
Granted, it's coming off. They played the Titans, so it was like, yay, spend all your FAAB on Ford, and then they played the Titans.
Yeah. It was kind of
He did score. So I mean, he is good, but I mean, I think the ceiling with a Chon is with that team with the Dolphins is way higher. So I'd be totally fine dropping Ford for a Chon.
I'd really look at dropping someone else.
Yeah. Do you have a receiver you can drop, a tight end, a quarterback? Yeah. You're loaded at running backs, but add that value. And eventually I think you can also trade one of those players out too, and maybe package 2 of them together and get a high end RB1 out of it. Would you trade Christian Kirk and Najee for Ridley?
I would have after week 1.
Yeah, I would have definitely after week 1 too.
I don't think I'm doing that right now.
I don't think I'm doing it either. I just don't see the gap enough between Ridley and Kirk. I'm
kind of worried about the Jags, man. They look so bad.
They look kind of jag.
Yeah,
a bunch of Jags.
Be patient is all I'll say with this. Doug Peterson took over some of the play calling duties after halftime there. If we see that moving forward again, I think we see a much better Jacksonville offense. Here we got Dylan. What up, boys? Made an intriguing trade, my 1 QB redraft. Trade Deshaun Watson, Travis Kelce for Lawrence and Keenan Allen. Got Laporta, so felt okay. Wide receiver depth, Devonta Smith, Cooper, Deontay Johnson. Thoughts? Oh, man. Anytime I'm giving up the best player in the trade, I don't love it. I'll be honest with you, Dylan. But still, you got Keenan Allen back, who's going to be a locked and loaded wide receiver 1 rest of the season. And I think you did upgrade your quarterback a little bit as well. I don't love the trade. I think you could have got more for Kelce, but I'm okay with it. Jorge?
Yeah, Kelce's such a cheat code. I mean, he's a top 5 wide receiver playing tight end. Yeah. So I can't.
It's not a bad trade. Like, I see why you did it, but I think Smith and Cooper, would have been a fine wide receiver duo there. I just don't think I can do it, Scott, even though he has Laporta, who I think, and you might think also could potentially be the first top 5 tight end rookie ever.
Yeah, that's what I wrote him up, man. Like it could finally happen. Since 2009. There hasn't been a rookie tight end that finished top 5.
How many did you say were drafted? Like 300, 200 something?
So since 2009, this was an article I did for Fantasy Data. There are 211 tight ends drafted since 2009. And that doesn't include, I think that was up through 2022. And 0.00 finished in the top 5. Now top 5 based on, I averaged out, the tight end 1, the tight end 2, the tight end blah, 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 during that same time. And that's how I established top 5. but there wasn't. And I mean, there was only 2 in the top 10 and like 5 in the top 15. So the hit rate has been really low. But you know, and this I credit, it was JJ Zacharyson shouting this from the hilltops, you know, as this season started. He's like, he did plenty of studies that showed that rookie tight ends were bad, but you got to look at the reason why. The reason why rookie tight ends typically don't finish in the top 5 or top 10 is because they're not on the field enough and they don't get enough targets. If that were to change, and it has with Laporta and with Musgrave, especially with Laporta. It wasn't just because he scored, but I mean, he looks the part, and it just so happens to coincide with a really atrocious tight end year. So, yeah, I think he's going to be the first one.
Yeah, he's going to be second in targets on that team.
Yeah, I love what Laporta has been doing. I think he is a locked and loaded tight end one rest of the season.
Iowa does it again.
Tight end factory, baby. Tight end you. Last question of the night, guys, and thank you, everyone. I've seen a lot of new faces in the chat. I'm sure that's a lot of Jorge friends that he brought in tonight, a lot of his amigos. But thank you, guys. We hope you're hanging around. Here we got one from Aiden. In a 16-man, 4-point for a 40-yard catch bonus. Ooh, that's a cool roll. Would you trade George Pickens, Jerry Jeudy, and Cole Kmet for Hopkins, Dell, and Ertz? I don't love... Man, that's really even for me, but I think the best player in that is still George Pickens. I know Tank Dell's a hot name, but I think I'd still, especially with this bonus, and we know George Pickens can catch some long balls. I think I would stay put, even though I always fucking love to move on from Cole Kmet. You know that, boys.
I mean, the one that worries me is Zach Ertz. I just don't, I worry about, the risk of injuries in his first year back from an ACL. Mm-hmm. So and you're right. I do agree with you. I think George Pickens may be the best player in that deal, especially considering what he's got coming to him the next few weeks with Deontay sitting.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree. If I had just a little bit more confidence in DeAndre Hopkins, just a smidgen more confidence, then I'd probably lean that side, just because I do really like Tank Dell. But yeah, I lean the Pickens side.
Okay. All right. Well, guys, thank you everyone so much for tuning in tonight. It was a great episode. Jorge, thank you for your knowledge, our friend. Tell us how we can best support you and where we can find you and all your great content this season.
Oh my goodness! Well, first off, thank you, mis amigos, muchas gracias. It was great seeing both of you at the Fantasy Football Expo. Just much love, and yeah, you can find me at Jorge Martin 17 on Twitter. I'd love it if you guys could check out the content I have coming out on Yahoo, but also I've still got my Familia FFB podcast that comes out on Wednesday evenings. Got a special guest, Tim Riley. And then one thing that just launched at right before the season with Dr. Edwin Porras, we're co-hosting his Friday afternoon. After all the injuries are in, we do Friday afternoon podcast, the Injury Prone podcast. We just put it up on YouTube. Please like and subscribe.
I remember you talking about that at the expo. That's awesome.
Yeah, so we've got
awesome.
we're every Friday afternoon. He does a little walk-in clinic on Tuesday mornings that we post on YouTube, and then on Friday afternoon he's been great. I feel like I learned so much from him.
Oh, dude, those injury experts, man, they really know how to calm the nerves here when we're all sweating it out. For Scott and I, guys,
or stoke the nerves.
yeah, that's true.
Both ways.
For Scott and I, you can catch us here on the YouTube channel at IBT_media. We are also on all social platforms at that handle, inbetweenmedia.com. We have a seismic ton, a metric ton of content coming your guys' way this fantasy football season. So make sure you're checking us out. And thanks to Kyle in the back, as always. And Scott, I know you have a lot of stuff coming out here. Roto Baller, fantasy data. So just make sure you're following Scott at Munder Difflin FF. The data is unreal. He'll make you smarter at this game. He's made me smarter. So thank you guys all so much. We'll talk to you on our Friday show when Eric and I are back for some feel goodness on that Friday. But until then, keep it in between.